Oh, this should be a joyful video. Hey Spuds, it's Jamie, what's up? Welcome back to another video, your first video on the channel, I don't know, but welcome either way. I'm very glad to have you here, and today's video, we're looking at some interesting opinions from trans people. It's like when we look at those videos of like, are the transphobes okay? They're really not, because this is just not nice. This is basically opinions from a very small number, like there's only about 4 or 5 different trans people who have said the following that you're going to see in this video, who seem to have aligned with more transphobic or right-wing views, or are not accepting of non-binary trans people, that kind of thing. And it's like calling out and saying like, dude, come on, this is a time for like community to come together, not to be fighting each other over stuff and just being mean to each other. And a big thing I've seen is it just comes across as a very small number of trans people wanting to align with the very people who are discriminating against them. And they'll be okay with those trans people for a while because they're agreeing on some points, but eventually that's not gonna work. And really deep down, the people that they're trying to align with do not accept them as trans people. All of this stuff is very strange to like just throw your own community under the bus for people that do not respect or accept who you are. So yeah, I just thought we could have a look at that again. This is the second dive into it. A lot of the stuff said is said by the same people from the first video. But yeah, I don't like seeing it. I don't think it's cool. I don't know if it's internalized transphobia that's being projected outwards. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's not nice and it's not fair and not very appropriate. So I thought we'd call it out today. Yeah. LGBT activists won full legal equality, and the only thing left to do was leave kids alone. There's a couple more sentences of this tweet, but I would dispute that LGBT plus people have full legal equality. This is coming from somebody based in the States. I don't think that there is full equality, and leave kids alone. This is such an odd thing. It's like, you do realise that when transphobes use trans kids as like the crutch of that argument, and they're like, I was okay with adults transitioning, but I draw the line at kids having surgery. 1, that's not even happening, and 2, they don't actually care about the kids. They are just transphobic, and that's them getting their foot in the door for then more to be said. You know, it starts with stopping kids transitioning, stopping trans women from accessing women's bathrooms, and then it will just escalate from there, and it will turn into homophobia at some point as well, and you know, if we let this carry on going. Anyway, just don't F with the kids. That's it. The bar was that low and they couldn't meet it. I actually don't know what this person thinks they're referring to in terms of kids not being left alone. Like, I really don't get it. Nobody's forcing kids to be LGBT. It's taught in some schools on some curriculums as this is a thing that exists and we should be respectful of other people in society. Ta-da! Doesn't make people LGBT. No trans kids are having any kind of permanent gender-affirming medical care like hormones or surgeries. Kids really are being left alone. I don't get it. It's like a regurgitated, oh, maybe this will make transphobes like me and leave me alone if I regurgitate some of the rubbish they say. What a lovely thing to tweet. If you're a woman who grew up masculine/tomboy and now live a beautiful life as a woman, would love to hear your story, because today you would have been fast-tracked as a trans kid. Right. Show me the examples of this happening. Even very recent studies in terms of the longevity of trans kids' trans identities show a 97.5% persistent rate 5 years after trans kids initially sought gender-affirming care, as in the form of like counselling and things, just for anybody wondering. So that figure indicates that there's not a whole bunch of kids being forced to transition when it's not the right thing for them, and trans people are the last people to force others to live as a gender they're not, or force people to transition, because trust me, as a community, trans people know what it's like to be forced to live as someone we're not, and be forced to not get gender-affirming care. And then it is just the fact that accessing gender-affirming care as a trans child in a lot of places is difficult, even where it's able to happen, because let's not forget all the shittery that's coming out that's just stopping it from happening. Even where kids still do have access to gender-affirming healthcare, it's not oh, you like to wear a dress and you were assigned male at birth, here, go into the clinic and have hormones and surgery and come back out again. That is not what happens. They talk about it as if it's some kind of weird conveyor belt. It's actually quite tricky to access, even where you can. It's a lengthy process. It's just counselling when people are kids. It's allowing kids to express themselves in a way they feel comfortable. And what's wrong with that? Nothing. So a trans guy put in his bio, if you're looking for left-wing trans content, This ain't it. Someone online who's quite well known for having transphobic views, who's not trans themselves, but tweeted this screenshot of the trans guy's bio saying, "Another trans guy leaves the left. Welcome to the future. Actual LGBT people are over the bullshit." Actual LGBT people are over the bullshit. Is that insinuating that left-wing LGBT people are not actually LGBT? Oh, you're not real LGBT plus people unless you're right-wing. Welcome to the future. The future where you are accepting a political party and message who completely disrespects your identity and wants to take away your rights. Yes, well done, what a brilliant decision. It's so frustrating because it's like, where has this come from? How can you look at like all the transphobia that comes from right-wing politics, particularly in the States at the minute that we're seeing? How can you see that and say, as a trans person, as an LGBT plus person, that's who I align myself with. That's who I put my faith in. That's who I'm going to vote for. That's who I think has my best interests. Really? I struggle with that a lot. So a tweet from a trans man, they were talking about another trans person who went on Dr. Phil, and this trans person stated, "The number one reason for detransition is transphobia." It is. What a bunch of BS. And this person continues to spread hate towards detransitioners and transsexual people. I don't really know how stating the factually correct number one reason why people detransition is in any way bullshit or spreading any kind of hate towards anybody. And so the person who said this on the show retweeted and said, "I've worked with far more detransitioners than you and support wherever their personal path goes. I don't support the few grifters exploiting this for fame and money at the expense of trans care." This is the opinion of a very vast majority of the trans community. No issues whatsoever with detransitioners, fully compassionate and wanting people to have the support that they need in their particular situations, but then not appreciating the very few who go full transphobe. Here's 5 studies showing the number one reason for detransition is social stigma. There's literal evidence that it's social stigma, and there's a trans person going, "No, you just hate detransitioners and transsexuals and you're spreading bullshit." Sure, don't listen to science, then that's fine. A well-known trans woman, but as I'm keeping other people anonymous here, I will also keep her anonymous. Well, she slammed Nike for their partnership with trans activist Dylan Mulvaney, and she said, "It is a shame to see such an iconic American company go so woke. We can be inclusive, but not at the expense of the mass majority of people, and have some decency while being inclusive. This is an outrage." I wonder what her suggestion of an alternative way of being inclusive would have been. Literally, Nike sponsored a trans woman among the many other people that they would have sponsored. So I don't see what the problem is. I just think this is really inappropriate and sad to see a trans woman tearing down another trans woman for having some success and putting herself out there and being visible and living her best life and getting sponsored by Nike. I mean, like, why are you having a go at her? She is a woman. She was sponsored by a brand to promote their sports bras and clothing that are aimed at more femininely presenting people. I don't get what the problem is. The transgender community needs to get their act together, and I'm not going to continue to endorse or be a part of it. My cat, Deli Meat, identifies as a basketball. Basket and ball are Basket's pronouns. What? This is like the shit transphobe joke of taking the piss out of pronouns, and a trans person has actually done the same thing. That is unbelievable. Just taking a pause here. This video is not intended to add any fuel to transphobes go, "Oh, see, trans community's gone so woke even their own are turning against them." Honestly, 4 different people have said all of these different things that we've looked at so far. And the maximum I found, that I might not go through all of them, there were 6 different trans people that said a few different things each. And that's out of like the many, many thousands, right, who disagree with these perspectives. I think they're a mixture of internalized transphobia. I think it's people who are non-accepting towards non-binary people. I think it's people who are scared of the non-acceptance they're seeing from society towards the trans community and are putting the blame on other trans people and kind of clutching at straws and being like, "Oh, well, if I say that I disagree with the trans community stance on this or that, or I take the piss out of this, then maybe I'll be left alone. Maybe I'll be accepted as trans." And it's all just bullshit, because transphobes are transphobes. They don't accept trans people. Some of them use fluffy language, they use excuses, and that's what this group of trans people people are relying on. But at the end of the day, you dig down underneath the misconceptions around trans kids and underneath the shittery towards trans women and women's spaces and underneath the phobia towards non-binary people specifically. And really all you have at the end of the day is transphobia. So this isn't in any way an indication that trans people are turning on each other or that the vast majority of the trans community has gone too far and the right are actually correct. That is not it at all. This is literally a very small, tiny, teeny weeny minority of the trans community who have their own reason, one of the three I went over or maybe another one, to turn against their own community and spread transphobia. It's very uncomfortable to see, it's very sad to see, and it's not at all indicative of the general trans population, nor is it any kind of gotcha that transphobes can use against the trans community. And it's sad to see it because transphobes will use it in that way. They'll take one trans person who mildly agrees with one thing they said and go, I have a trans person on my side, I can say whatever I want. What these people are saying, they may feel accepted temporarily by the people who are transphobic, but in the long run, they're not only damaging the whole trans community, but also themselves because they are still part of the trans community. Even if you say you don't want to be a part of it anymore, if you're trans, you're still trans, you know? So yeah, just wanted to point that out. We live in a beautiful country called America, where we are free to be whomever we want. Still? Really? The radical rainbow mafia has hijacked LGBT people and is the worst thing that has ever happened to LGBT people. They are domestic terrorists. Don't understand where this comes from. It's such a load of bull. You are trans yourself. No matter what you say, you will still be associated with the community that transphobic people, transphobic cis people, are saying these things about. These very untrue things that are born out of fear, ignorance, and spreading of misinformation. You're aligning yourself with what they are saying, but they're not going to accept you. They don't accept you just because you're agreeing with something they say. Because at the end of the day, you are still trans, and they are transphobic and they don't accept trans people. There may be a surface level politeness towards you from them that they wouldn't allow to other trans people, but it doesn't go beyond that. So it's a very strange thing to do. It's the whole like cutting your nose off to spite your face. Like, there's literally no benefit to do this. It's just so bizarre to me. And that's it. I mean, there are very few examples to look at in this, like, are trans people doing all right? I mean, like, no, because this shit's happening, along with all the other transphobia in the world. This is not meant to be a doom and gloom video. I just think it's important to call out this shit and just say that this isn't right. This isn't something that transphobes can take and have any power in because it doesn't mean anything. It's literally just, for whatever reason, worried, scared, internally transphobic, whatever, trans people who are agreeing with something they're saying because they've internalized transphobia, because they're scared, because they're worried. I don't know what reason specifically. They're not spreading the truth about the trans community, basically. If you like this video, think about giving a thumbs up and subscribing. If not, no worries. And yeah, as always, I'll see you next time. Go leave a comment down below. Much love. Bye. Thank you for watching. Did I say thank you? Thank you very much.